This is Dolynny TV, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion here on the channel late at night. I'm recording this one. I'm not sure if it's going up tonight, tomorrow, whenever, but I figured, you know what, we're getting closer, and I did a couple of lead-ups the other day there about, well, obviously, how's that bottom six looking? Obviously, after Ken Holland's worked his magic, not as bad as last year. And how is the top six currently as it sits with Chiasson and Neal factored in? How are they going to produce? Well, those are the questions we sit here and ask ourselves right now. But today I think we got to discuss a little something else as well. You've got a whole roster of guys that are maybe hope and prayer guys, as a lot of you would say, or show and prove guys, whatever you want to kind of title them as. They're guys that have to step up or they'll be duds. And that's exactly where you end up with this edition of, I mean, it's already a stolen title, so I'm going with possible studs and duds for the Edmonton Oilers in the 2019-2020 NHL season. And we'll start it off with the duds here in a second. Now, this is just based on my gut feeling. I'm not going to back it up with stats. I'm not going to back it up with nothing. I'm just going to back it up with what I feel and what I think. That's what I'm going. This is purely 110% opinion based. So if you've got an issue with it, well, we may end up having an issue full round. But let's get right into it, guys. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel right now, hit that subscribe button. Don't do that first. Go to the comments section, interact, then decide if you're going to do that. But let's get to it, as I've got to find my stat splits here, as we'll get to the duds first. That's what I want to lead off with. I want to leave you in suspense as to who I feel, not think, not educated guesses, who I feel could just flop this year. And that's kind of, well, we saw that with what? Tobias Rieder, Adam Larsson, to a degree Cam Talbot and Mikko Koskinen last year. And realistically, it is what it is. Kyle Brodziak, the names failing. Ty Ratty, Jesse Puljujärvi, Kyle. Holy crap, Tyson, shut up. We don't need to hear about last year. We're looking forward to this year. Anyway, duds. Let's get back on track here, ladies and gentlemen. As the duds I'm feeling for this year, I don't have a goaltender in there, because I am hinging on a prayer here that the goaltending is going to be okay or good. I'm hoping. And if it's okay, I'm hoping the defense is really good. But you can't have a good defense, especially factoring in now with the Sekera buyout, without these two guys performing. And if they're duds, we're really hurting. So those two guys would be Oscar Klefbom and Joel Persson. Now these guys, the reviews are good, right? Oscar Klefbom, the defense leader. The defense is much better when he's on the ice as opposed to when anybody else is and he's not even in the lineup. Don't get me wrong, I understand that. The problem is, that was kind of what Adam Larsson was brought here to be, right? That defensive defenseman stalwart who just shows everybody the way and things work out. Guess who was a dud last season? Adam Larsson. So, why would I consider Oscar Klefbom to be a dud potentially this year? Well, what if he gets injured again, right? That's the dud. That's the injury is the dud. But if he doesn't produce, if he falls back, right, that's kind of my scare. I'm just feeling it may be that kind of season for Oscar Klefbom. I hope, as with all five guys on the list, I am wrong. Joel Persson, the reason he's on this list as a dud is simple. We've heard the hype. We've seen the hype. We've gotten excited for the hype. But now all of a sudden he's got to show and prove. And there goes back to the opening intro when I was talking about the show and prove guys. Joel Persson, if he's going to be a starting lineup guy on night one of the NHL season against the Vancouver Canucks, he's got to show and prove. And if he doesn't do that, he ends up in the duds bin. Well, that's why exactly I have him as a potential dud, is because, man, I feel like you'll try to live up to hype, right? Obviously, you look at some of our number one picks we've had, i.e. Nail Yakupov. You look at some of the guys that have come into this lineup with real good reviews the year before and then failed. It tends to happen in Edmonton. So the hype scares me with Joel Persson a little bit. Now, that's just me personally. I'm very excited for him still. Don't get me wrong. I would love nothing more than Joel Persson to succeed. But there is that little bit of an asterisk. Is the hype going to match the actual play? And then you've got Marcus Granlund. Guys, the reason Marcus Granlund is on this duds list. Why was Marcus Granlund brought here? To chip in those few extra goals that Bob Nicholson feels would have made the Oilers a playoff contender last year. Actually, scratch that, playoff team. Jeez, I need to shut up about that. But Marcus Granlund was also brought here, namely for the power or penalty kill. Penalty kill, ladies and gentlemen, the penalty kill. So, if that fails, like it seems to almost every single year, why would Marcus Granlund be a dud? Because the penalty kill is a dud. I mean, probably he could go out there and score 20 goals and we'd be all laughing and penalty kill would still be a mess, don't get me wrong. But right there, right guys? There is that potential for things to go sideways. The next two, the other two forwards on my duds list, Alex Chiasson, guys, it's very clear. He's got to repeat. That's exactly why we re-signed him. And I mean, asking 38 points out of a guy right now who's lined up to be your second line right winger, that is not asking too much. We're the Edmonton Oilers. Yes, it's asking too much for us. Any other NHL team, that is below performance average. So obviously, Chiasson bombs because he can't hit 38. That's going to be a dud. That's why I feel he could potentially be a dud. But again, not wishing him ill, wishing him all the best, and I don't want to see him on this list midway through the year. Maybe we'll review this midway through the year. And Joakim Nygard, again, guys, this one kind of a hailed signing by Mr. Ken Holland, a guy who's supposed to solidify the top 9, top 4 lines, maybe now, depending on where he slots in after training camp. But you understand where I'm going. You see a guy from overseas, you see he's got that lightning fast speed, but if that doesn't translate, he could be a potential dud. And that's why he's on the potential duds list. So you kind of get where I'm going with this, right? It's just kind of what could go wrong, what could go right, and that's just what could go wrong for those guys. So now let's get over to it, and let's get on to what could go right for our studs in copper and blue this year. The studs starting off with a goaltender. Yes, I've said it all along. I'm hoping to be proven right on this one, and I'm hoping it goes very well for Mr. Mike Smith in Edmonton, especially if it goes bad for Cam Talbot. Just hear me out. I don't wish Cam Talbot ill will. I just going to Calgary. Bad move, man. Bad move. So hopefully Mike Smith has a good year. Obviously, my main proponent to that is I've said the Rolison goalie on a roll kind of deal, to throw in a pun if I can. The reason to go there is he's an old goalie looking for that last shot of glory, right? Obviously, if Mike Smith doesn't get anything done this year, I think he retires. He's 38. It's been a long career, probably calls it quits. But this year is the year to get something done. You're on a team with Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Darnell Nurse to an extent. If you want to make a difference, you're going to go out there and win hockey games, and that's how you become a stud if you're Mike Smith. If you win the team hockey games at all expenses lost, well, bang. Oh, let's go Mike Smith. Now, the stud I have on defense, because I feel like I have to play to you guys that I harp on too much for liking Matt Benning, honestly, I would love nothing more than a potential stud on the blue line to be Matt Benning. I called for him to be traded. Guys, it was ridiculous because Matt Benning was, in my eyes, just a failure of a defenseman. And on most times he was last year. He found himself on the ice for a lot of goals for, so his plus-minus looked good. But, guys, he looked clueless out there. Same with Adam Larson. But I would love nothing more than Matt Benning to come out, show and prove, and be a stud on this team. Man, I like looking like an idiot when things are going right. If I look like an idiot when things are going right, that is good. If I look like an idiot when things are going wrong, I really got to judge what I'm saying on here a little bit more. And then Josh Archibald. Guys, Josh Archibald, this guy could very well be on my studs list because I go either way with him. He could be up there doing amazing things, or he could be down here doing, I guess, duds list was what I meant. You know, you get where I'm going. Either way. But Josh Archibald, kind of that guy, last minute signing in free agency, right? Guy who hung around for a long while and then gets signed. Well, you know what? $1 million, guys. If you get Toby Reeder plus production, right? 2 times Toby Reeder production for that $1 million instead of the $2 million you signed Toby Reeder for, wash your hands. We are good. Not to mention what Josh Archibald could bring to our special teams if he's deployed there. And of course, where he can play up and down the lineup, right? I think Josh Archibald, if he gets hot, could definitely find himself on a line with Nuge at some point this year. So the studs possibility are there for Josh Archibald, and I'd love to see it. The $1 million guy, the cheap guy on the team, you love to see them do something special. Now you've got Thomas Jurko, who's another cheap guy on the team, as well as Jujhar Khaira. These two guys, well, Thomas Jurko, the reason I'd love to see him be a stud and be a potential stud is just, I feel, coming out of the AHL, winning a Calder Cup, there's something to prove now. And it's not at the AHL level, it's at the NHL level for him. So if he can come in here with that attitude, he could be a stud all the way. Kind of that raw, get it done kind of attitude in the locker room that sometimes the Oilers lack. Well, who would not take that as a stud, right? Bang, let's go. Plus some production, we are flying if we get that. And Jujhar Khaira, the reason I have him as a stud, his breakout year was supposed to be last year. He got injured. The Oilers were crap. Well, guess what? Bang. Perfect storm, didn't work. But hopefully this year is his breakout year, and that's why I have him, I feel, as a potential stud this year. Guys, now I'm going to turn it over to you. What I want you to do is, like I said, if you've hit up that comment section, now hit up that subscribe button. Definitely trying to hit 7,000 of us Oilers fans following along before the NHL season gets underway in October. And, well, guys, what does that mean? That means more Oilers discussion for us because there will be more of us to discuss things. Guys, I'm Tyson, this is Dolynny TV. Those are the studs and duds I feel for the season. Let me know yours. Give me 3, give me 5 of each. Give me a full team. If you want to give me 12 and 12, let's go for it. I am up on out of here.